Alex, nice to meet you, buddy. How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Are you in Chicago as well?
I am. I'm in Chicago.
Okay. How long you been with
Where
Stan?
you guys from?
Well, we're all over. Mike and I are in Maryland, but we got agents,
Oh,
all
where?
over the country. Our we don't have an office of what I think your office holds what 300-400 people in Chicago.
Yeah, four to five
Yeah,
hundred. Yeah.
400 to 500 like that. So if I'm new, and again, guys, like I'm not new, so like I'm not starting over. I don't have a need to start over. But if I'm new at this, I'm looking at groups like Stan and Alex and Jay and even Playbook going like, dude, how are they getting 400 or 500 people in an office and are killing it? Because y'all are killing it, right? Like killing it.
You can say that, yeah.
I was at conference. I saw it. I did see it, and
Yeah.
so for me, it's like, how do y'all set the tone of people? Because you guys are a bunch of young folks, young men, young women, um, and but you guys treat this thing like it's life or death. That's what I've noticed about Wolfpack is like there's no time to play
Exactly.
games here, and y'all have a standard that if you aren't hitting that standard, dude, you get cut. I kind of like it because a lot of younger folks, it's like if you participate, you get a trophy. Like back when I grew up, if you came in fourth place, you didn't get anything. And third place trophy was really small. Second place was a little bit bigger, but first place was what you wanted. That's how y'all run this. Like if you're not participating, if you're not holding up the wolf, get out. Is that how y'all run this thing?
Pretty much. So it's the criteria. So kind of the criteria we have for every new agent. So we
Okay.
expect every new agent coming in, so they have to issue pay minimum $15,000 and issue paid business in 1 month. If they don't do that within their first 3 months, they don't fall in that criteria, then they're out. So we do give them 3 months to hit that minimum goal, which is $15,000 issue paid.
Okay. So talk to
Mhm.
me. So walk me through that because this is what I want to know. Like, and
Right.
actually was talking to an agent earlier about, hey, I'm losing some people. What do you think I could do better? I'm like, well, expectations could probably be better. It is helpful to have an office, but if recruit people out of the state, then I don't know what y'all do there. Walk me through as if I'm brand new. How are you getting me started? What are you telling me? What are you setting my schedule? Are you treating me like I'm I'm a child and you set everything from start to finish, which isn't a bad thing.
Mhm. Yeah, no, of course. So that's honestly, that's one thing I'm very heavy on, and it's something we preach a lot out here. Just transparency, transparency and honesty. It's the number one thing that we preach. And it all comes down to like what exactly is the message that we're spreading out on social media. I know something that you know, focused on very heavily in the beginning. You go out on social media, you see all these different posts about life insurance and this and that. Most of the times, a lot of the things you see, is just like the commission statements, all the cool, nice things, which don't get me wrong, it looks great. That's obviously what sells people, what gets them interested. Every young person, wants to make a lot of money. That's no secret. But I know me personally, something I posted in the very beginning, I wanted to teach these people, just show them exactly what they were getting themselves into. I always like to say, like when I get on a phone call, a recruiting phone call, I say I qualify them by disqualifying them. You know what I mean? It's almost like
Sure.
I'm talking to them, but I'm letting them know why they shouldn't work here. It's kind of funny, but it's like this is why you shouldn't work here. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah,
hard. I tell them, like obviously the industry, it's simple. Yes, you can make a lot of money in this industry. It's been proven multiple times, but it's becoming the person that you need to become. That's the hard part. Developing yourself into that leader, into that person that other people want to simply be a part of that, where you're being the example for other people. You know what I mean?
for
And
sure.
it's like,
So good.
so what was I gonna say? Yeah, so like from the beginning, what I was posting, so obviously, commission statements, everything like that. But what I did, I built a routine for myself, because my mindset, obviously in the very, very beginning was, one thing that I struggled with a lot was just like my confidence, my character, like I was terrible at this. I was terrible at insurance. I couldn't sell a policy to save my life. It took me 36 days exactly till I closed my first deal. And for me, it was one of the main things. It was literally all up here. It was all my mindset. I didn't have no confidence. I was just a very introverted person, just growing up. So the sales thing, just communicating to other people, it was something that was very, very new to me, right? And 36 days, you can only imagine throughout those 36 days, there were so many times where I was just telling myself like, dude, what am I doing wrong? Like this isn't working. Like at some point, like there was even times where I just wanted to accept the fact that maybe sales wasn't for me. I thought just being able, having the ability to communicate with someone was something you had to be born with or something. And I just didn't have it. I was like, I gotta find an industry where I can just make a lot of money and not have to speak to anyone. So that was me for a very, very long time. And obviously that's like that was something that was out of my comfort zone, right? And after just doing it for so long, throughout those 36 days, like day after day, just dialing 8 a.m. till midnight, getting told no, getting told to F off, everything like that, just on a day-to-day basis. And it got to a point where like, I could either just, continue to, my bad. I could either just continue to, come up with every single excuse, just never take accountability, continue to run away, simply just face my fears, and instead of, thinking of it like, oh my gosh, my life is ruined. What am I gonna do? This isn't for me. I just like started looking at it like, how am I gonna let this, build me into the person that I need to become? So sure, the time I come into this situation, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Hello? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can hear
It
you.
said connection unstable
Yeah,
at first.
you're good.
Yeah. So, instead of saying, like, how am I going to let this affect me? My life's over, this and that. I kind of just changed my mindset to how am I going to let this make me? How am I going to let this build me? And then I simply started just transitioning over to that, and I started making it as hard as I can for me because I knew that, just on the other side of relentless and imperfect action was that clarity that I was looking for. We're in an industry of just, there's a lot of confusion in this industry. And I know like if I'm not doing the things that I told myself I was going to do, if I'm not staying true to my word, it's going to be very hard to find that clarity that I'm looking for in this business. So it all
For
started
sure.
with just taking accountability, I had to take accountability. I had to accept the fact that, I literally gave myself no other option when I first joined this industry. I was a college student at the time. I dropped out. Before this, I was trying to wholesale real estate. And, I did that for a full year, put myself like $30,000 in debt. And I was 19 at the time. So I just put myself no other option. And I knew that, if I simply just, over and over again, that's how I was going to learn. I bet
For sure.
I feel like I'm going all over the place with this, but going back to what I was talking about. So I was showing the viewers, I was showing like my people exactly what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. From the time I woke up, I was waking up at like 3:40 a.m., hitting the gym first thing in the morning, right before the office. I was posting the time when I first showed up in the office, which was 7 a.m. I was posting the late night dialing sessions, when I was dialing at midnight, 11 p.m. when everyone else had already left the office and I was still there. Even on the days when I didn't close and I was dialing 8 a.m. till midnight, I'd say those are actually my best days. You know what I mean? I consider those my best days. They're the character building days. But
Yeah,
even on the best days where I worked most and I still didn't close a deal, I would like screen record my dialogue and I would show that. I would post that so people could see, and I would explain like these are the best days, these are the character building days.
for
It's
sure.
like
And I
you will
think,
never learn if you don't have data. You can fail.
and dude, it's so true. I think that's what folks need to learn how to do is fail in this business with an attitude of it can only get better from here. Because when you said I sucked, dude, so did everybody else on this call. Like if they tell you something different, they're lying. We all sucked at this when we all started. The only thing that separates folks that are killing it now is they just didn't quit. So how did you get through that 36 days and when did you along between day 1 and day 36, when did you decide to change your attitude to from maybe this isn't for me or to maybe this is building me? How far into that? Was it 2 weeks? Was it closer to 30 days? Because I'm sure after you made that attitude adjustment, you probably got your sale fairly quickly.
Yeah. So it was about my third week, you know?
Okay.
Um, and obviously at first, it was just me blaming the leads, blaming trying to come up with every excuse, And after that, and I remember one of the main things that just helped me kind of realign my mindset as well is I had a talk with Stan, you know, and I was talking to him. This was back, he had a smaller house back in Dallas. And this is back then when I was working out of Dallas. There was a smaller office out there as well. And I remember he sat me down literally for an hour, for 2 hours straight, just ripped me apart, you know?
Mm,
And I like just checking me, he was just being honest with me, telling me what I needed to hear, you know?
yeah,
And obviously the truth hurts, I did not like him, you know, a bit at all. You know what I mean? It hurt a lot, but it helped me realize like, he's absolutely right. You know what I mean? He's absolutely right. And after that, I I knew obviously he had that talk with me because, it just shows that he cares and he knows how much this opportunity meant to me and he just wanted to make sure that I thrived through it. So I simply took his advice and I applied it. I applied it into my lifestyle, applied it into my business, which is why, I started doing things like waking up early in the morning, because like that's where like I found my fulfillment. You know what I mean? That's what kept me going every single day. And like I had to find something that would just keep me driven. You know what I mean? Because obviously motivation lasts so long. We know that. But it's like I knew it wasn't going to be the money. It wasn't going to be the cars, the penthouses, all that brought me fulfillment. It was going to be simply me staying true to my word. Simply me becoming a person that I needed at my lowest point and giving that to my people, which is why I wanted to make it very, very hard for me. I wanted to be the first one up, the first one in the office, the last one to leave. I wanted to be the one that put up the most dials every single day. I wanted to go through all the hardships, all the challenges, the obstacles. That way I could just make it easier for my agents. Because
for
I
sure.
know I'm big enough. I know I've built the mindset up here, all across the board, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. And it's like you just get to a point where we like to call it the word, it's just undeniable. That's what we're
We
building here,
actually have a
just
group. We have a
undeniable
group in our
people,
agency called
undeniable mindset.
Undeniable, Alex.
Yeah.
There's an agency, and yeah, it's called Undeniable. I love that because I agree with you. So sorry to interrupt you. That's funny.
Mhm. No, you're good. That's fire. Yeah, undeniable. And man, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
No, you were just saying
Um,
you switched it, and your attitude is now it's just undeniable because you're staying true to your word, and that's dude. Let me ask you this question, and because I think I mean I know the answer
yeah.
because we all do it, but how when you get up at 3:45 or 4 and you go to the gym, even if you die the whole day and you get home and go to bed and lay your head down and you made the most dials in the office, you were the first one in, the last one to leave. Don't you still feel pretty damn good about yourself, even if you didn't have a high sales day?
Of course.
So
Of
then,
course I
how
do.
do you now transition that from what you're doing? Now, it's easy to do when you're in an office and following. Do you have? Let me ask you a couple questions before I go into this. So you've been here. You've been
Yeah.
here with Stan since what date?
So December of 2023, that was
Your
first month
okay.
I ever got licensed.
First month you ever got. What do you,
So
and
a little
are
over
you
2 years.
building? So you're building
Yeah.
and selling. Okay. How much is your team doing on a monthly basis?
We'll do 2 million this month.
Okay. So
Personally,
like,
I'm not personally selling as much.
oh, that's no, that's fine. That's the way when you get to two
Say that
million
one more
dollars, you
time.
shouldn't be personally produced. You shouldn't be selling as much when you're doing 2 million a month. So that's where everybody that's trying to build this thing
Right.
is trying to get to. But you got there inside of really closer to 2.5 years because December. So in about 2.5 years, you grew $2 million a month. Tell us how you did that because I know it. Listen, I didn't have a lot of things, but we didn't grow to $2 million a month in 7 years. So I can still fits to learn from you. So
Right.
tell me how you got from 0 to 2 million. And after you went through 36 days straight without making a sale, most people would have quit. So you obviously are mentally tough. You're not a little bitch, which we love. And somebody's going to get offended that I said the word bitch. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to describe it if you would have quit other than you're a bitch. So talk to us how you did that.
Yeah. So obviously, 36 days went by, I got my first sale. After that, for like the next month after that, it went from like 2 to 3 deals a week. Day, but I was closing here and then every single week. And then I'd say about it was my third month. I just it was this I would think it was the second week of my third month in the business. I just had this week where I popped off. I closed every single day that week. I submitted, I think it was like 17 grand that week. And literally not too long after that, I'd say about a week after I got my first agent. I got my first recruit.
Okay.
His name is Bruno Fuentes. He was my first agent, and he's actually my biggest agent now. He's my top agent. He's doing about 700,000 a month now as a team. So he's
That's
killing it as
dope.
well. And
Okay.
so after I got this thing, after I got my first agent, so Bruno, with him, it was a completely different like learning curve that he had. Obviously me, I came in, I struggled 30 days. Him, he came in, first day on the phones, fifth dial, he closed. And I remember after he closed that, after he closed, I think he closed it for like $1,000 AP. After he closed that, we went outside, we stepped outside the office. He was working at Discount Tire at the time, and he had like just gotten promoted to like a manager position or something. But obviously he just made $1,000 on one phone call within like, 30 minutes, 30-minute phone call. So we went outside, he called his manager and he's like, "Hey, I quit, I'm never coming back." And then to me, that was like, I loved it. You know what I mean?
For
Because I'm
sure.
like, damn, like he really, he trusted me. He took the opportunity and he trusted me with this. So like I knew I had to do everything on my end to make sure that he was successful, to make sure that he thrived. It's like it just really opened my eyes and it's like dang, I really have a business now. Like I really have agents because that was my first agent ever. And like just the
Yeah.
thought that I could just bring an agent in and once I teach myself how to sell at a very high level, I can teach them how to sell at a very high level. And then they can bring someone in and teach them how to do the same and I can get paid off it. I can make money off it. So like in my head, I was like, I just want to bring in as many people as possible. So obviously, after I got Bruno, he came in killing it. After that, he went like 40 days straight, not missing a single day with the deal. He was closing every day, and he
Wow.
started posting on social media. And then he started bringing in some of his own recruits as well. And then I brought in throughout that time as well, like throughout that phase, I would say like I did learn a lot because there was a couple agents that I brought in that I simply they're not here. They don't work here anymore. And what I learned from them is that, I had to accept the fact that like I can't help everyone, you know, and I can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped, you know, because what I noticed is that while I was bringing these people in, I'm so new to this, I'm like trying to do everything I can, like, bro, come into the office, I'm trying to drag them in. And like, oh, you have to put up 400 plus dollars a day, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm just trying to drag them and drag them with me, but they just simply don't want it, oh, I have this going on. Oh, I got to go see my girlfriend on this day. Like, and it's
Right.
like I'm over here like making myself mad, stressing myself
Yeah.
out. But it's for what, And
For sure.
eventually after they left, they never came back. It's like I realized, like it was never me that was the problem. It was them. You know what I mean? And
For
at
sure.
the end of the day, I just you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And that's
That
something I
is,
realized. And like instead of like building something where I was just trying to bring in people and be like, no, you have to be in an office 7 days a week, work this full-time schedule, put up 400 plus dollars a day. Like instead of building something where I kind of had to like force people and tell them what to do, I simply I started trying to build something where people just wanted to be a part of,
yeah.
because
For
instead of
sure.
like telling an agent what to do, I can't change an agent. I can't tell them what to do or nothing like that. But I can simply inspire an agent to become better. You know, I can inspire them to feel good about themselves, get them to a point where, they're so confident in themselves and they're able to believe in themselves so they can build the best versions of themselves. The goal is not to build the top 10 best versions of Alex, it's to build the best versions of themselves.
For sure.
And it's like,
How old are you, Alex?
21.
Wow. Okay. All right, keep going.
And so yeah, after that, Bruno, he started killing, he started bringing agents in, and then lost a couple agents around that time, and then boom, my sister came. I brought in my sister. And at the time, so back then when we got back to Illinois, we had the smaller office. It was about 4,000 square foot. And this was when Stan was in Illinois already. There was like maybe 9, 10 guys in the office. And then my sister wanted to come in, and she was the only female in the office. And obviously, like in like a male dominant industry, some say it's like I'd say it was like a little different. I had to teach my sister a little differently. I had to be more patient with her. You know what I mean? So it was like with my sister, I didn't start consistently. It started selling at a high level until like her fifth, 6 month in the business. But after that, she just took off. She had this idea that she wanted to build an all girls team and, build something huge. And that's exactly what she started doing. She just started outreaching and just targeting girls that were her age that wanted to join the industry. And you fast forward now about 35, 40 people on her team. She's doing about 350, 400,000
Good
a
for
month
her.
right now. So she's killing it as well. And so this was back in January of 2024, right? Around the middle of the year. So middle of January or middle of 2024, we're 150, 150, 170,000. And then, as we started bringing more and more people in, around the end of 2024, around October-ish, we gained 50,000, right? And then, yeah, I want to make sure I have this right. It's been so long, but time 2026. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So 2024, around October-ish, we were doing about 250,000. And
Okay.
this was around that time around how
Alex, can you do me a
I lost
favor?
agents and everything like that. So I
Can you do me a
actually
favor real quick,
lost
bud?
agents, right? Yeah.
I don't know if you can you turn your video off because
Yeah.
you're lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that'll help you for sure. You can still talk, and just won't see your face as much. There you go. Let's see if that makes a difference.
You can hear me
You
okay?
there? Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, it actually sounds much
Yeah.
better. Yep.
Better now? Okay.
Yes, way better.
So around that time when we're doing, and I was saying, so around that time that we were doing about 250, this was around that time where, I started to lose some agents, wasn't necessarily qualifying the people that I was bringing in, so like the mindset I had was just bring everyone in, figure it out later. You know what I mean?
Yep,
And obviously that can only work for so long, and that's what I was doing for, multiple months, more people in, but our numbers were still staying the same. So it just didn't make sense. And
yeah,
then there was this one point around October where I lost a decent amount of agents, about 15, 20 agents. And literally with the people that I had, I told myself, I'm like, I don't think bringing agents in is the main problem here. You know what I mean? I just simply think we need to work with what we have and simply build everyone to reach the best versions of themselves. You know what I mean? Because we haven't gotten to that level yet. So if we just work with what we have, we hold each other accountable, and this time we build together, we grow together, and we help each other get to that next level. And it's like you can accomplish things so much better and just quicker when you're doing it as a team. So
for
it's
sure,
just if we worked as a team, worked with what we had, and we simply got everyone paid, make sure everyone became top producers, like our numbers are gonna jump. And that's exactly what happened. So in 1 month we went from 250 to 500,000. And then
okay,
that was around, so November, December, we were doing 500 and then 550,000. And then by doing so, I had more legs. Around that time, I had about 6 directs. They started posting more. They had their agencies, they were building everything like that. And that's like what brought that main jump. So we went from 500 to 750 and then from 750 to 1 million. And I'd say that main jump was pretty much my legs building out themselves.
For sure.
They went ahead recruiting their own people, building their own leaders, their managers, and they kept going and going. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So what is your so when you guys bring in a new agent, 3 months to do 15K in a month, if they don't do that, what do you say to them?
So if they don't do 15K within their first three
And
months,
yep,
so I'll have a talk with them, right? Obviously, I'm not just gonna tell them, hey, you're fired, get out of here. But like, I'd have a talk with them, and it's like, dude, look, you obviously understand the criteria. We explained to it, or we explained you to it. We talked about in the very beginning before you even started, right? You had all the resources in the world. We checked your dial out. You were putting in the hours. You had the good energy. You're dialing the same leads as everyone. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no other excuse. So like if it's not the leads, if it's not this, you're working the schedule like what's going on? You know what I mean? And the reason why I have a talk with them, it's because maybe it's something that's in their mind, maybe it's something that they have going on at home that I don't know about, something that's holding them back. So like I really like to make that talk, it's more personal. Like what's going on? Like, is there any way I can help? Like what is stopping you from just continuing to sell? And I will say these kind of talks, I feel like I'm just not the best at, because it's like it's hard for
yeah,
me to just like telling it like I just don't get how you're not selling. You know what I mean? You have the same resources, the same leads as everyone. Like it's just a mindset thing. And it's like you
typically.
have to believe in yourself. It just comes from self-belief. You have to believe in yourself. You
So
know what I
let me,
mean?
and I agree 100% because it's
Mhm.
usually one of three things: either their mindset's terrible, or they're not working
All right.
enough, or they don't have enough leads. Right? It's always boils
Right.
down to one of those three things. In that 36 days, how many dials do you think you made? If you had to take a guess, and I know it was 3 years ago, two and a
Yeah.
half years ago, were you dialing? Were you working your ass off back then?
Yeah, I'd say 500, 600 plus dials a day.
500 to 600 dials a day for 36
Yeah.
days. The challenge with most people is it takes them, so 30 times it's 15,000 dials. It takes a lot of people 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to get to 15,000 dials. So while yes, you did suck for 36 days. I mean, you sucked because you would have thought luck would have given you a lay down, right? But it just wasn't in the
Right.
cards. You sped up your learning curve that usually takes people 3 to 4 months in really 1 month. And I think that's the difference where when you get someone that's just not getting it 15 grand, they're not working. If they or they have a terrible mindset. And again, you're 21, so like those conversations are hard. They're hard for everybody. Like to say, this isn't for you because A, your mindset sucks. B, you're not working. Nobody likes having to, because you're probably like all of us. When you understand how to do this and you realize how easy it gets, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before you got on. Like this becomes
Mhm.
really easy, and you don't understand why someone's not succeeding because it is that easy. And you weren't born with the gift. You just learned it because you stay positive and kept working. So why can't everybody do that? Is that kind of where you're at?
Right.
Okay. Um,
Mhm. And
so then we give them a
go ahead.
chance. What are other some not what are do you give your new guys like non-negotiables? Like, okay, so it's hard to tell someone you have to be in the office because they're supposed to be independent, but you encourage them to be in the office. What else do you encourage them to do daily when they're, especially when they're brand new, to give them the best chance of succeeding?
Mhm. So 400 plus dials a day, that's a non-negotiable, minimum 400 plus dials. And then as well as how many days a week they show up to the office. And sometimes they have stuff going on, family, everything like that. But the time they show up in the office and then the time that they leave the office as well. So we like to get in the office by 7:30 a.m. We're making our first dial by 7:59 a.m. Right. And we're dialing, 8 to 12, obviously 12 to 4 back office. But as a new agent, 12 to 4, I'm still dialing. And then 4 to 8, again, just dialing down back on the phones. But then again, if 8 p.m. comes around and we still don't have a deal, Well, like we don't leave until we get the job done. You know what I mean?
Okay, for sure. So where are they getting leads from?
9, 10, 11 for their first 1 to 2 batches of leads. So like our rule is like our goal is we have to get our new agent their first deal within their first 48 hours. So their first or second batch of leads, I'll um I'll cover it. And then after that, once they make deposits from those leads, they're gonna go ahead and reinvest those leads or reinvest that money back into those leads, back into their business.
Okay, and then let's just
And
say
we
I'm
make
brand
it
new.
known
Go
that,
ahead. Go
right.
ahead.
Say that one more time. You said,
You finish, and then I'll ask you my question. You were getting ready to say something. If they make what?
oh, I was saying we make it known, like obviously implementing a lead schedule is very important. We're heavy on lead flow as cash flow, and we help them set up a certain lead schedule where they know what day to buy leads, how much are they spending, everything like that.
Okay. Can you tell me what that is?
Mhm. Yeah, so I kind of like to begin with, I kind of like to run them through the same schedule that I did. So for me, it was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was spending anywhere from $1,000 to 1,500 a week. So it would the way I would run them, I would buy a batch Monday and then run them Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday I would buy a new batch and I would run that batch Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday new batch, Friday, Saturday. And then Sundays I
Okay.
would pretty much get any like missed appointments, if I fumbled an account number, those type of leads, I would pile them all up in one and just dial all those on Sunday.
Okay. So you're 7 days a week
Mhm.
when you're new to get this thing under wraps.
7 days a week, yes. If
Okay.
they're able to, obviously if a new agent's able to, then I'll be there
Yeah,
7 days a week with them. Yep.
that's ideal. I mean, I get it. The faster you get through all that, the faster you get through the learning curve, the faster you can start making money. So I'm with you. Um, so do you ever give agents a batch of leads and they complain about them?
Yes.
Okay.
I did the same thing too when I first started.
You did. Okay. So talk to me about that. So you got some free leads and I think
Mhm.
it's inevitable and it's really the longer you do this, Alex, the more patient I think you get. Um, just because
Right,
you've seen so much, and I'm sure that you're probably a little more patient now with people because you don't sound like you're an entitled, jerk. You sound like a nice young man. So you're probably not by nature not ungrateful, but
right.
most agents think that the top guys get special leads. Is that kind of what you were thinking back then?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
For sure. I think everybody does. Like, well, I want the leads they got.
Yeah.
No, they're calling the same leads you have. You just suck and they're really good, right? So how do you handle that when or do you set expectations before you even give them batch of leads? How does that work with y'all?
Yeah, so I send in new agent a batch of leads, they start complaining. Literally the first thing I'll ask him is, let me see your call log, let me see your dialogue. Because like, are the leads not working or are you not working? That's the first thing we gotta ask ourselves. So if I check their call log, best case scenario, they're having an amazing call log. They've been dialing everything like that. All right, so
Sure.
you're putting in the work and it's not your dialing time. You're already putting in the dials. Then I'd sit next to him and I would just simply listen to him dial. Like let's take a look at your energy, kind of your frequency when you're getting on these phone calls. Everyone says like sales is a transfer belief, transfer of energy. Well, it correlates, to when you're on the phone with the client. You know what I mean? If you want to be able to connect with these clients, you have to, bring good energy. You know what I mean? Like
For sure.
your conversation has to be pure. Let it come from a place of purity. Make the conversation about them, and you'll be able to connect with them. And where there's connection, there's conversion. And it correlates the same thing to when you're talking to a new agent. Like you have to be able to connect with these agents. With these new recruits. Obviously, when you're able to connect with them, it's much easier to convert them. So yeah, I'll just take a look at their energy, kind of their mindset, how they're going into these phone calls. And if they have good tone, good energy, everything like that, then it's just a skills issue. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So like we
for
just
sure.
go back, pull out the script, back to script training, back to the basics. I really need them to get a good understanding of the script, of the structure, because that's how they're going to prepare themselves. And when you're prepared and you feel much more organized, just by nature, the next time you get on a phone call, you're going to seem more confident, because you're prepared. You're not going to have all these questions that you don't even know where to go, and you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
preparing
for
you,
sure.
man.
And so, okay, and I did want to ask you this too, because you said Bruno came in and lit it up right away. And I
Right.
think I had this conversation with someone earlier too. Like, I'd much prefer an agent come in like you, Alex, get punched in the mouth 145 times for 36 days straight. And when you're still standing at the end of the 36 days, I know I got somebody to work with. Because if you didn't quit after all that, it'd take a lot to get you to go away. But someone that comes in and starts killing it right off the rip and Bruno's been here for a minute now. Has he had to deal with any adversity?
Yeah, he definitely has.
Okay.
He went through the same phase. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. You're about to answer what I was getting ready to ask. So go ahead.
Mhm. So yeah, literally this was like back then when he had first started too, kind of towards the beginning. He obviously had his like it was like 40 days straight, he did not miss a day. And after like 2, 3 months, just consistently closing, there was this one month where I feel like, he just kind of got a little too in his head. And he just stopped closing for a little bit. He kind of lost his streak. And like because he lost his streak, he just started, I guess thinking negative things, and just telling himself negative things like that, and by doing so, you just get in your mind and it's kind of harder for you to get out of that. Like you have to work twice as hard to get out of that dip, you
Right.
know what I mean? So like
For
that's where
sure.
he was. And obviously he was so new and like it was harder for him to understand because he came in just slinging, you know what I mean? So he
Right.
never really went through like a full day of just no dialing or nothing like that. So it was something that was new to him, and it obviously wasn't something that just changed overnight or changed within a week, and I had to have multiple conversations with them. And like luckily for him, I was someone that went through that. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
I just had to remind him, like, Bruno, this is completely normal. You have to go through this. Like you in this business, you don't win unless you fail. Like you have to fail as many times as possible for you to win. So that's
For
exactly
sure.
what we talked about. It's just communicated on a day-to-day basis. And just little by little, same thing. He started picking it up. He started being more invested in his business, his energy with his time, his money as well. Started buying leads more consistently. And then his closes, went from same thing, just how it went for me, 2 to 3 deals a week, and after that it was just every single day,
Yeah.
consistently
It's
selling.
funny. I was talking to a kid this earlier today, and you, I don't know you that well. So when I say kid, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm 49 years old. So my son is 25. He works with us, so he's my kid. So I'm not being disrespectful. I talked to a young man earlier. I got to get in the habit of saying that. And he's like, I bought leads for 5 weeks, and the first 2 weeks I wrote 20,000 and 18,000, and then the third week I only wrote 8,000, and the fourth week I wrote 13,000, and then the last week and a half I haven't written anything. I'm like, how many leads? So I went through his leads. He gets like 50 leads a week, and it never changed. I'm like, bro, you're way ahead of the game. Like you're, and I think a lot of folks need to understand this, and that's kind of what happened to Bruno is the numbers are going to work themselves out. Like you could be really good, but regardless, your numbers are your numbers. So if you do something extraordinary, like this kid, young man, writing 20 grand off of 50 leads week one and 18 followed up with 18 grand in week two off of 50 leads, that's
Right.
extraordinary. It should be around 8 to 10 grand a week. So when you average that out, the numbers are what they're supposed to be. But he's in his head so much, he's convinced himself that the leads have changed. The ads and it's the area he's running is terrible. I'm like, dude, it's nothing's changed other than your mindset, and the numbers really just caught up to you because they are always going to work out to be what they're going to be. And your numbers, Alex, aren't the same as Bruno's, and Bruno's aren't the same as Jesse's. everybody's are going to be what they are going to be. And then you get the complete average, but it's always somewhere in the middle. So that's pretty cool. Let me see. What else do I want to add? What is your goal for 2026?
2026, I want my agency to be doing 10 million a month
Wow. By the end of this year.
by the end of this year.
Dude, I love, and you sound like Stan. Like y'all have that. It's people always like talk to me. They're like, "You sound like Sean Mike." I'm like, "Well, that's a great compliment because I've been around Sean for 16 years now, and he's taught me everything I know about business. So thank you for the compliment." So when I
Yeah,
say that you sound like Stan, it is absolutely a compliment. But y'all's
appreciate
mindsets
that.
are so strong, and y'all think anything is possible, which is great, by the way. It's why you all are growing the way you're growing. So 10 million. So you're at about 2 million a month right now. How's your plan to I don't even know what I know double, quadruple is 4 times. I don't know what the term is for 5 times, but how do you plan on
Mm.
5x in this thing?
So right now I'm just continuing to grow. I'm recruiting heavily right now, actually. I just onboarded about 2021 agents within the last 2 weeks. I got 3 Airbnbs out right now for just agents that I relocated out of the state, had them staying in there. So just doing the same thing all over again, going back to recruiting, getting back on the phone, selling at a high level so I can teach my people that I sell at a high level and building this thing up again with them.
Dude, and that's what's amazing to me is we and I've been with Family First Life since we started. Okay, so December 12th, 2013, we're going on 13 years this year. Um, there are agents and agencies that do less than 2 million in a month, way less, and the so-called leader person running the group or the hot, they're too good to go back and sell because they've already arrived. How do you stay so humble and hungry? I mean, obviously that's a massive goal of 10,000 a month. And your goals
Yeah.
obviously aren't just I need to accumulate stuff because I watch your all social media. You have stuff. You got cars, you got watches, y'all gamble like it's going out of style, which is why I love you guys so much. Um,
Right.
but above and beyond all the material stuff, like what is driving you day in and day out to keep this thing moving at the pace and the level it's moving at?
Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to my purpose. It's like who I'm doing it for. I remind myself every day that this life, it's not about me. I feel like if you're living a life like solely based on the way that you feel it, it's a selfish life and it's a lonely life. Like every day I wake up, whether I'm feeling tired, whether I'm feeling sick, whatever it is, I straight up just tell myself like, I don't give a fuck how I feel, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about the people around me. If my people need this, if my people need me to get back on the phones and continue to sell at a high level so they can thrive, so they can succeed, then that's exactly what I'm gonna do, because at the end of the day, it's for my team, it's for the people around me, for my family. Being like, again, takes me back to being the person that I needed at my lowest point, simply giving that to them, you know? It's like when Frank, when you think about little Frank at his lowest point, who did that person need? You simply become that person and you give that to your people.
Dude, that's strong. I can't even believe you're 21. Like I'm not, and again, that's a mad compliment, but your maturity level in business is well beyond 21 years old. So kudos to you. And Stan, y'all have got some good stuff going there, but you're 100% right. And it's for us, it's been that like we want to see more people's lives change the way ours was changed. Because without this business, I don't even know where I'd be, but this has changed our lives, and it's changed not just mine and my wife's and my 3 kids, but I have a sister whose husband left 17 years ago, never looked back. She's got 3 kids. My parents, my wife's mom is a single lady, working at 71 years old. Like we were able to help her retire. Like, dude, that's what this is all about. And for you to get that at 21 is very impressive. Um, are you married? Got a girlfriend? You want kids?
Nah, I'm single,
You probably won't be for long. You keep
single,
bankrolling, keep
staying
bankrolling the way
single.
you're bankrolling. They're probably beating down your door. Um, how old is your sister, Alex?
She's 23.
So she's your older sister. Okay. And she's absolutely
Yeah.
well. How does that? Because I have an older sister. I've been trying to get her to sell insurance because she's a salesman. She could sell ice to Eskimo. She's good, but she's like,
Mhm.
I just don't know. I've been trying to recruit her for years. Talk to me a little bit about working
Yeah.
with your sister. That's got to be cool.
Yeah. Honestly, because me and my sister, we're very close. And like we have a very close relationship. So I'd say with my sister, like, because we're close, I'm actually, it's easier for me to be harder on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that's what really helped in the beginning because obviously when she first joined the industry, life insurance, she just wasn't some random stranger. So like for me, it wasn't that I had these uncomfortable conversations with her and talks with her and everything like that. So I'm just always hard on her. I'm always pushing her,
Yeah,
past her limits. No, I mean I see her every day in the office, so it's cool to have her around. She has great energy. She's obviously got
yeah,
a great team building, with all her like her with all the girls in her agency and everything like that. Like it's great to see really how far she's came.
for sure, for sure. And I can only imagine how
And
proud she
it's
is
like,
of you.
mm,
I mean, I know. What nationality are you?
I'm Mexican.
Okay, so so family is super important to y'all, just like us Italians. So I know how that goes. We'll have to get your sister on a call at some point here because we got some
For
female
sure, yeah.
groups that love the female. And in fact, one of the girls in our group does a Thrive Thursday. I think it's the first or last Thursday. Don't quote me on it's one of the two of the month. It's like a female call. They get some of the top female agents and agencies. They get a guest on every week. So I'll connect Crystal and your sister at some point. We'll get her on this call. But dude, we're about to wrap this thing up. It ends at 7. Give us any parting wisdom that you can give us. I'm beyond impressed with you.
Look, I mean, I guess I'll leave you guys off with this, and here, like if you feel like currently where you're at in a business, if you guys feel like you're struggling with something, you feel like you're not growing at the rate that you should be growing, maybe trying to come up, maybe you're not selling at the level that you should be selling, you're not recruiting at the level that you should be recruiting. If there's a piece of advice that I can give you guys, and I hope you guys can take this piece of advice and apply it to your lifestyle, just to your habits, and hopefully this helps. But like I think the main thing will help me, like what really changed for me, because first of all, nothing changed until I changed. Something I always say, like your life will only change as quick as you do. And there's just one thing I always say. It's like, Frank, I could bring in 20 agents today, right? I'll bring in 20 agents today, brand new. Everyone's brand new. I'll give them all the same leads, the same dialer, everything, same resource. Everyone has the exact same resources, same leads, everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, the results, they're always going to vary. They're always going to be different. And why? It's not about because what they said, it's not about how they said it, the verbiage that they use. At the end of the day, it's about the who it's coming from. So at the end of the day, your only goal is to build the most powerful, the most captivating who, and you will simply attract everything else, the money, the recruits, the numbers, everything like that. You have to change first, and everything else around you will change.
I
And
love
by
it.
by when I say change, I don't just mean like financially, but I mean you have to take a look at yourself as a whole. When you go home tonight and you look at the man, the woman in the mirror, you have to ask yourself, are you happy with the reflection that you see? Your reflection is your confession. So you have to go back and take a look at yourself as a whole, not just financially, but spiritually, physically, mentally, all across the board. Are you winning all across the board in every single way possible? And the
Mm.
moment I simply focused on that, and I simply made sure I became an all across the board winner. Like everything, it's just like it just came easier. I just started attracting these things, you know.
For sure. Dude, you get you
You'll
get
see
what's
that like
obviously
and
the
like
best place to start is yourself.
exactly, and it's like you'll notice that when you're doing this and you're winning in every single aspect on the board possible, you sort of carry like I know people use the word like aura, you know, you sort of carry like this aura, like it's like a respect, like people respect you, like people want something that you have, you know, it's almost like people want to be like you. So it's like people want to be a part of the organization you have, you know, because you're inspiring them to get better. They
For
see
sure.
how you know how much you're changing and everything like that in every single way possible. So it's like you just have this aura that other people want to be a part of and want something that you have. You know what I mean?
100%. And it's real. Because if you're ever somewhere like I've never met Michael Jordan, but you hear stories about like if you're sitting in a room and Michael walks in, like you just know it. Sean's Mike's the same way. Like that's for y'all on here that like, and if you've never met super powerful people, but Sean gives that aura. Like when he walks in a room, you know he arrived, and it's just a presence. And people want that
Right.
energy. It draws. It's like a magnet. It draws people towards them. Stan has that. I watch him in places where there are folks 30s, 35s, 40s, and they're drawn to him. And it's not like age goes out the way. And that's the beautiful thing about this, Alex, is you're 21-year-old young man. And if your aura is right, if your energy's right, I don't care how old the person is. They could be 16, they could be 60. If you have it, they'll be drawn to you. And that's how people go, well, I'm young. How do I get folks to follow me? You got to get it. It's an it factor. And y'all have it. Y'all are breeding it like rabbits. So good for you.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate you for hopping on, man. Last minute, I really do. This call was fire. If y'all ever need anything, let us know. If you need help with a ton of y'all buy leads from Mike. Go if y'all need something, let me know. He does all that stuff right out of our office. But I never forget a favor, so I appreciate you taking time out of your day and share with us. This is huge.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come out here and speak to y'all.
You got it,
For
brother. When
real.
we hang up, text me your sister's number so I can connect her and Crystal, and I'd love to get her on a call 1 week as well.
I got you. Will do.
All right, appreciate you, Alex. Y'all
Yes,
have a
sir.
great night, everybody. Love
Appreciate
y'all.
you.
We'll see you tomorrow's the CRM training. Wednesday we have nothing. Thursday's the SRS call. Friday's call is Sean at noon. The TNL gets dropped on YouTube. Y'all can watch that at 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't give a rip. Shouldn't watch it at 10 in the morning. But Sean's calls at noon Eastern Standard Time. If y'all aren't on that call, you're crazy. It's the best call all week. He is the best at this business in the world, like in the world. So, like when you talk of the greatest of all time, that's Sean in this business. The closest IMO behind us won't do a tenth of what we do this year. He's annihilated the field. So, if you can get around that, that's how you get some of the aura that Alex was talking about. So, be on that call Friday at noon and every other call we have during the week. Alex, appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you soon.